Okay, so we've all gotten used to AI that can chat with us or summarize a document. But the game is changing, big time. We're moving past these simple tools and into the era of AI agents. These are autonomous systems that can basically act like our digital coworkers. So yeah, let's dive right in.
So, what is an AI agent really? Well, think of it like this. A chatbot is kind of like a helpful intern. You can ask quick questions. An agent, though, that's a full-time employee you can hand off a whole project to. It uses a large language model, its brain, to reason, make decisions, and, this is the crucial part, use tools to actually get the job done all by itself.
Now, this is where it gets really interesting, because it shows the huge mental shift we need to make. See, traditional software is deterministic. You give it a command, like get weather for NYC, and it follows a strict, predictable script to give you an answer. But an agent is non-deterministic. If you ask it, should I bring an umbrella? It might check the weather, sure, but it could also check your calendar for your location or even ask you where you're going. It's adaptive and context-aware, just like a person would be.
All right, so how do we actually go from this cool idea to a real working agent? Here's our game plan for this explainer. First, we're going to break down the core components. Then, we'll get into the art of designing its tools. After that, we'll look at building a whole team of agents, cover the absolute necessity of safety, and finally, map out the path to making your agents genuinely effective.
Okay, Section 2, the core components. And to make this super easy to understand, let's just stick with this analogy. You're not building a program, you're hiring your very first digital employee. And just like any new hire, it needs a few key things to do its job well.
Every agent you build, no matter how simple or complex, is going to have these three parts. First, you've got the model. That's the LLM, the agent's brain. It's what does all the thinking and reasoning. Then you have the tools. These are the agent's hands, right? They let it actually do things, query a database, send an email, whatever it needs. And finally, you have the instructions. This is literally the job description you write for it. It defines its goals, the rules of engagement, and its overall personality.
Look, an agent is only as powerful as the tools you give it. This is where the rubber really meets the road, where you give your agent the superpowers it needs to interact with the world and get things done. Honestly, this might be the most critical piece of the whole puzzle. So how do you make great tools? Well, Anthropic lays out this fantastic iterative cycle. First, you just build a quick and dirty prototype, get something working. Then you run it through a systematic evaluation to see how it actually performs on real tasks. And here's the genius part. You then work with another AI to analyze those results and automatically make your tools better. It's this constant loop: build, test, improve, repeat. This right here is a perfect example of good tool design philosophy. A super common mistake is to just wrap your existing APIs. So you give your agent a tool like List All Customers. That's so inefficient. It's like telling your new hire to read the entire phone book just to find one person's number. Instead, you build a high-impact, focused tool like Get Customer Context, which only pulls the specific, relevant info it needs.
And why does this matter so much? It all comes down to a really critical concept: the agent's context window. That's the amount of information it can juggle in its head at any one time. It's finite, so every piece of useless data you feed it is wasting that precious space. It's like making a human employee dig through an entire filing cabinet just to find a single piece of paper. It's slow, it's messy, and it's a great way to get the wrong answer.
And this efficiency isn't just an abstract idea. You can actually measure it. Take this example. A detailed response from a tool full of technical junk like user IDs and timestamps costs 206 tokens. But a clean, concise response that gives the agent only the info it needs, just 72 tokens. That is a massive difference. Yeah, that's nearly a 3 times improvement. And it's not just about saving money on tokens. Fewer tokens means less noise, less confusion for the agent, and ultimately a faster and more accurate result. It's a win-win-win.
Okay, let's talk about when things go wrong, because they will. Imagine your agent tries something and gets this error message back. Error, invalid parameters. What's it supposed to do with that? Nothing. It's totally stuck. It's a complete dead end.
But now, look at this one. A helpful error message doesn't just say, "Nope, you're wrong." It says, "Here's how to fix it." It tells the agent the exact format to use. This isn't just an error message, it's a course correction. It helps the agent learn and self-correct so it can keep going with its task. It's so much better.
So you've built your first agent. You've given it some awesome tools.
But what happens when a task is just too big or too complex for one digital employee? Well, you do what any manager would do. You build a team.
When you start building a team of agents, you'll generally see two main patterns. First is the manager pattern, where you have one central boss agent that delegates tasks to other, more specialized agents. The other agents are basically treated like tools. Then there's the decentralized pattern, where agents act more like peers on an assembly line, handing off the work to one another as they go. So, let's look closer at the manager pattern. Imagine someone asks you to translate a sentence into 3 languages. A central manager agent would get that request, then call a Spanish agent, a French agent, and so on. It would then gather up all the answers and present them back to the user as one unified response. This is perfect when you need one agent to be in control and combine a bunch of results.
The decentralized pattern, on the other hand, is your assembly line. Think about a customer support bot. A triage agent figures out what the customer needs. If it's about a recent order, it doesn't just ask the order management agent for info. It hands off the entire conversation. The specialized agent takes total control. This is the way to go when an expert needs to fully take over a specific task.
Okay, we've given our agents autonomy, we've let them work in teams, and with all that power comes a massive responsibility. We absolutely have to talk about one of the most important things here, building in strong safety guardrails.
The smartest approach here is a layered defense. Think of it like a castle's security system. You've got your outer walls, things like classifiers that keep the agent on topic and watch out for attacks. Then you have protective filters to make sure sensitive personal info never gets out. For really high-stakes actions, you can build in safeguards that require a human to approve them. And of course, you always have the ultimate safety net, a human who can jump in and take over at any moment.
And that brings us to our last and maybe most important section. What's the real path to building agents that are actually effective? It's not some giant leap of faith. It's a pretty clear-eyed, iterative process. You build, you test, and you repeat.
I just love this quote from Anthropic's guide because it totally gets to the heart of it. The goal isn't just to build tools that work. The goal is to build tools that are so intuitive that the agent can use them to break down a big, scary problem into smaller, solvable chunks, exactly the way a human expert would.
And that really is the key takeaway here. Building a great agent is not an all-or-nothing thing. The most successful projects always start small. They focus on one specific problem, they get it in front of real users to validate it, and then they slowly, carefully grow its capabilities over time, always guided by data and evaluation. It's a journey, not a launch event.
So, we've moved from an AI that can just answer questions to an AI that can actually take action. It can reason, it can use tools, it can achieve complex goals on its own. So the final question really isn't about what the tech can do anymore. It's about our own imagination. Your AI can reason, so what are you going to empower it to do?